is the influencers. So, according to Reputation Institute, for the longest time, can somebody just click for me? That's better. Okay, we go to the third question I want to tackle. Who influences the influencers? According to Reputation Institute, for years, corporate leaders preach the virtues of communication and engagement with these three key audiences: the customers, investors, and employees. However, focusing exclusively on the holy trinity of stakeholders is creating diminishing returns for public and private organizations, regardless if they serve the B2B, the business-to-business market, or B2C, which is the business-to-consumer market. Next slide, please. The answer lies in the rise of the influencers, who care more about behavior than who care more about the company behavior than what the company sells. More importantly, these influencers are not afraid to tell the companies, employees, customers, investors, and the rest of the world about it. Today, more than ever, these influencers affect company reputation, whether we like it or not. Next, please. But going back to the question, who influences the influencers? My take, it's really a shared responsibility. Everyone who has a stake in the company, both internal and external, we all play a key role in this complex and ever-dynamic cycle. For example, internally in PPI, the products and services team needs to collaborate with the frontliners. The frontliners need to collaborate with the customer care, channels, HR, employees, marketing, my team, corporate affairs, and so on and so forth. Next, please. Why? Because, sorry. Okay. Again, but from my POV, I said it's a shared responsibility, right? But from my point of view, we, every one of us, play a special role in influencing the influencers. Why? Next. Because of three things. Access and influence matter most. There is power in the truth. We are in the era of social media. Why do I say that? Access and influence matter. We function as a trusted advisor and strategist to the CEO. We have direct access to the key decision maker. And number two, there's power in truth, because we are the truth tellers even when message is uncomfortable. We are interpreters of how external stakeholders, whether good or bad, view and understand the organization. And last, era of social media, news and commentary 24/7, it never stops. Now more than ever, our function is at the highest. We have the highest value ever because of these three things. Remember, as corporate affairs officers, we help build, protect, and enhance our organization's reputation. Next, please. I'd like to end the slide or the quick pitch with a quote from the world's most greatest investor, Mr. Warren Buffett. He tells us, it takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. If you think about that, you'll do things differently. Thank you.
Thank you, Owen, for your great ideas. Please take a seat as we call on our next panelists. Our next panelists are a professional team, Mr. Ruben Arrias and Ms. Rachel Pregunta, travel bloggers who are also the founders of Gamintraveler. Ruben and Rachel are also social media content creators and influencers. Ruben is Spanish and is a hardcore traveler who has been to more than 85 countries around the world. Together with Rachel, who is from the Philippines, they combine their passion for writing, storytelling, and travel to build what is now the personal brand online, Gamintraveler. Apart from working as content creators and influencers, Ruben and Rachel have an understanding of the other side of the influencer marketing spectrum, as they have their own Instagram agency. where they help clients like personal brands, solo entrepreneurs, and SMBs launch their business through Instagram campaigns and generate leads and traffic through various Instagram and online strategies. Everyone, please welcome Mr. Ruben Arrias and Ms. Rachel Pregunta.
Hi everyone, thanks for inviting us. She was also supposed to talk, but she has no voice today. So first, I'm going to introduce ourselves. We are travel bloggers, and we also have a Instagram growth agency. So we help clients to grow their Instagram, to get leads, and to sell products. Next, please. Next, please. So we started with our blog 3 years ago, and later we focused in Instagram to build our personal brand. And we've been working with brands as content creators. We've been also working with hotels, with brands like Ritz-Carlton, Sofitel, Shangri-La. We've been also working with We've been also working with tourism board like Philippines, and we've been also working with clothing brands. So what's an influencer? An influencer is a person who has a following online, and it can be in various needs like travel, lifestyle. So thanks to that, he can build an audience, and as the influencer is close to the audience, they follow him because they believe what he's doing in his life. Next, please. So what's influencer marketing? So the most important influencer marketing is to know your target. For example, you need to know who is the buyer journey for a specific campaign. Next, please. So these are the statistics. So we can see 71% of the consumers they are going to purchase the product based in social media. 50% is about the visual of Instagram. The strongest is always 90%, the recommendation. And later, 81% is about bloggers with the writing. Next, please. So these are the buyer journeys. Like first is awareness. This is usually to introduce the brand to the people they don't know yet the brand. Later is consideration for people already trying to consider buying a certain product and needs to know you as an option. And last one is decision stage. It's like the work with the right influencer and have the right campaign. Next, please. So what it means working with influencers. So for every campaign is worth it to work with the proper influencers, and you need to connect with them to make clear what is going to be the content you are going to create for the brand and what's the needs of the brand. Yes, please. So how to find the right influencer for your business? You need to know your audience. That's the first thing. The brand need to know about you. And they need to create a campaign that matches the values of your brand. So, you need to know the campaign, which platform you want to talk about. If you want to choose Instagram, it's more like visual. YouTube is more for videos. Facebook is like more for selling with friends. and also blogging is the writing part. Next, please. We have here a few case studies of our experience. So we've been working, for example, with tourism Philippines. So the campaign was very well realized. So first they make like a previous giveaway because there were 15 influencers in the campaign, and it was to promote a trip to Palawan. So the first thing they did is a giveaway between all the influencers, and the winner was coming for the trip with all the influencers. And after that, during the campaign in Palawan, they were posting Instagram stories, Instagram pictures in their feed, and taking videos. And after the campaign, some people, they were doing videos in YouTube, posting in their social media, and some other people, they were writing in their own blogs. We've been also working as content creators in a few campaigns with brands like Trivago, and for example, the one we did is about Cinco de Mayo. Cinco de Mayo is an important festivity in the United States, and the campaign was starting 1 week before the Cinco de Mayo. So it was for Corona Beer, an international brand, and it was also very well structured, always giving the proper value with the beer, the product, always in the feed. And after the first week promoting the campaign, all the influencers, they were promoting the same day Cinco de Mayo, a huge campaign. So with that, they reached million of people. And later we have, as Instagram agency, we have a few cases studied. We've been working with fitness coaches, and we've been helping them to create their own content. So how can they reach audience in a viral way? Like we saw them which the content is working in Instagram. So they can have more followers, and they can reach in a better way to their followers. We saw them how they should do Instagram stories, how they can show themselves to their audience, how they should sell their product and launch their product and getting leads for the company or their services. That's it. So this is our part. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruben and Rachel, for your insights. Kate, our next panelist is Kate Delos Reyes, the Managing Director of GetCRAFT Asia. Kate transforms businesses through content. Her consultative approach has helped organizations build strong content strategies and drive successful execution. She built her expertise in digital media and content by working closely with agencies, brands, and media for the past 15 years. She currently heads the Philippine operations of GetCRAFT, a premier content marketplace connecting creators and marketers to produce great content. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Kate Delos Reyes.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you to PR Asia for this invitation. If the saying is true that you save the best for last, then I am very lucky that you guys are still here. Thank you so much for, I'm looking forward to the questions later on during the panel discussion. So my name is Kate. I used to be a PR practitioner like many of you. 15 years ago, I was cutting clippings, preparing clippings, sending them to clients, faxing the clippings to the clients. So that was a long time ago. Right now, I lead operations for the Philippines team of GetCRAFT. GetCRAFT is a content marketplace. We help clients, basically we connect content creators and brands. So I'm here today to talk about influencer marketing and share with you some best practices on influencer marketing. Just to, I guess, set the scope, I'll be talking mostly about sponsored content. So earlier during the day, there were discussions already about organic PR, the non-paid kind of PR. And Arthur Policarpio mentioned earlier that the lines are blurred, you know, from one agency to another, from one marketing function to another, the lines get blurred already. What is PR? What is advertising? So right now, what I will be talking about would be sponsored content, the paid kind of PR. Not envelopmental journalism, mind you, but really content, co-creation of content. Okay, enough of the caveats. I shall proceed. So, as we all know, there has been an increase in the use of influencers, both in marketing and communication strategies. And this shouldn't come as a surprise because the prevalence of social media merely amplifies a normal human behavior, and that behavior is trust. Next slide, please. There has been a study by the Nielsen Global Trust in Advertising report in 2015 that 91% of Filipinos trust recommendations from people they know. This is slightly higher than the global average of about 80%. So, mas mapagtiwala tayong mga Pilipino. 91% of us trust recommendations from people, you know, from friends, family, but with many of us living our lives on social media, this has now expanded to people that we don't necessarily know personally, but people we follow online, and we feel that we're already friends with them online. So this includes now influencers and bloggers and content creators. However, influencer marketing hasn't always been easy. And I guess this is where we as communicators, we as marketers are challenged because we must be wary of riding the hype of influencer marketing. Influencer marketing should be part of an overall business strategy. It shouldn't be tactical. Uy, uso yan. Halika, gumamit tayo ng influencers. It should form as part of your overall business or marketing strategy. Given that you understand the role of influencers in your overall strategy, what I will be sharing with you are some tips on like how to execute that strategy with influencers. Now, going back to the point of influencer marketing being actually quite difficult, that's because, next slide please, we actually don't understand each other very well. We don't understand, thank you, we don't understand influencers that well. We don't understand consumers that well. And same goes with consumers not understanding marketers that well and influencers. So there are three players here: marketers, consumers, and influencers. All of them have different expectations of each other. So at GetCRAFT, we did a survey. We ran a survey across 200 marketers and 10,000 consumers. And we found out that there is a misalignment on our expectations from each other. Next slide. The key finding from this survey is that marketers like us, we rely on influencers for brand awareness. Okay? We're talking about effectiveness of the campaign here. Marketers rely on influencers for brand awareness. Consumers rely on influencers for bottom of the funnel, that's conversion. But if you ask influencers, they will say they're actually good at engagement. So paano na? Hindi tayo magka-agree-agree, di ba? We have a different understanding of our strengths, of our role in, of the role of influencers rather, in the marketing funnel. So how can we then get results if we cannot even agree on the expected results? So I guess that's my goal here, is to help you understand what influencers go through So I will serve as, I guess, a voice for content creators here. So we believe that the first step in a successful campaign is alignment on objectives and results. Diyan kasi medyo madalas mag-away, di ba? Parang we need to align first on campaign objectives and results. Next slide, please. So, I'll be sharing with you 3 best practices, also known as what influencers wish you knew. Okay? The first one is to experiment. Discover what works for you, and by experimentation, this can come in the form of the people that you work with, the different influencers and content creators you work with. It can be in the form of content types, photo, video, Instagram story, or a blog. And it can also come in the form of channels. So which online platform should you use for these influencers? Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So this is a case study with Traveloka. They use they actually experiment with different content types, different influencers, and different channels. So they have a separate influencer strategy for Instagram, for example, and then a different one for Facebook, and then a different one for YouTube. So they played around with first the default for brands is to work with influencers within your category, and in this case, travel. So that's the first thing that that they did, and we helped them do is connect with travel bloggers and create content, and then from there run a UGC campaign. But then again, there was an opportunity to bring in sports influencers because they sponsored the SEA Games in Malaysia. So there they played around with, they did a Twitter takeover with a sports journalist, and they also sent an athlete to cover the event. And then they also work with celebrities to do a Facebook Live. So again, different types of content and channels to find out which one works for the brand. Next slide, please. The next best practice or tip is to brief your influencers clearly. Give them a very good, clear brief, and then let them do their magic. Yes, that my point here is that we don't want to, personally, I don't want to call them influencers. They actually don't want to be called influencers as well. They are content creators. They'd rather be seen as content creators and not as just channels. While it is true that influencers are both content creators and distribution channels, they're actually stronger at creating content. That's what you should leverage on as a marketer and as a client. So we leverage on their creativity. I'll give you an example, next slide, of how a brand briefed a set of influencers and then just let go. This is for McDonald's for the launch of their product, which is McFreeze. The brief was just, there's a new product, please include it in one of your frames. So this is with Facebook comic fan pages. And the brief was that simple. Basta there should be a product in one of the comic frames. And because content creators know their audience more than clients do, they know what kind of content would resonate and would elicit a lot of engagement from them. And that's exactly what the brand got out of this campaign, which is a very high sense of engagement. It's not very far from the non-branded content of these fan pages. And that's a win for the client because usually if it's branded content, the engagement is lower than organic content. But in this case, it didn't suffer. The engagement did not suffer because the content looks very organic. It's still funny. Just so happened that there's parang a product placement in one of the frames. Next slide, please. Lastly, once you've experimented, once you've discovered what works for your brand, do more of those, diba? You optimize, you scale up. If you start working with one influencer at a time, 5 influencers at a time, if you have a big campaign, then work with 50 influencers at a time. Next slide. So this is what we did with Shopee during one of their sale campaigns. They know that unboxing videos work for them. They know that something like a 500 peso challenge works for their brand. So that's what they did. Next slide, please. They've expanded that, work with 58 content creators in a span of weeks to promote the app, the service, and it's basically, leveraging on finding out what works for you and just doing more of that to make sure that you maximize the results that you want out of that. For this campaign, the results were, I think, over 2 million views because the objective was awareness for this particular campaign. Now, we learned these best practices from, next slide. We learned these best practices from the hundreds of campaigns that we have run at GetCRAFT. We work with over 4,000 content creators. And as I mentioned, we connect brands like you with content creators, such as writers, designers, and influencers and bloggers. And if you're curious, as to, a common question that I get is, magkano si ganito? How much is it to work with an influencer? The simple answer is, I don't have a ready answer, but my suggestion would be to go to the website, getcraft.com, because it acts as a directory or a marketplace. It's like a Lazada or an Alibaba for content. So if you guys are curious as to how much a specific influencer costs, then you can check out the website because their prices are there. Next slide, please. So we can help brands find the right content creators that will work for them, for you. Briefing and ideation can also be done through the website, as well as project management. And the most important one would be measurement of results. This is an important factor, and it's also a common question that we get. How do you measure results of influencer marketing campaigns? Even the most sophisticated clients, whom we would think already know how to do it, they ask this question: how do we get ROI from influencer campaigns? And it's very hard because content is qualitative, diba? It's somewhat subjective, but of course you measure engagement, you look at awareness or the number of views or reach, engagement or conversion, and there are many ways to look at that. We also look at cost efficiency, so cost per view is also measured. After campaign, we look and compare it with benchmarks to see whether we met the KPIs for the campaign. So anyway, to recap, the best practices or the tips that I would recommend when working with influencers would be to experiment. Next slide, please. Would be to experiment, to brief your influencers very clearly, and then to let go, let them do their magic, and to scale up. Whatever works for you, do more of that because you're going to get more results out of that. And with that, I end my presentation and I look forward to your questions. Thank you.
A round of applause from Ms. Kate Delos Reyes. We will now ask all our panelists to come to the stage for the panel discussion, which will be facilitated by Ms. Cora Llamas, Philippine Editor, Marketing Magazine.
Give our panelists one more applause, please. The questions are coming in already, but keep them coming because this will be a very interesting discussion. One thing I've noticed, our panelists here represent a certain represent a certain part of the public relations community. Okay, like for example, both Ruben and Rachel are content creators, and at the same time they deal with clients. Am I correct? Okay. Owen with BPI, I think, would be on the client side, although you also have your internal content creator / influencer, right?
Well, Cora, to clarify, we function really as an internal corporate communications team for BPI. So we look after all the messaging both for internal and external stakeholders.
All right, thank you. And then Kate's platform bridges the gap between content creators and potential clients, right, and brands. Okay, so the spectrum is fully covered. But before we continue, I'd just like to ask Owen and maybe Kate something. Because if you noticed earlier, especially since this morning, the lines have been getting blurred. Because we're getting to the digital age, sometimes the functions overlap. So is what we're doing now public relations, or is it marketing? Which is it? So before we start discussion, there was something that Owen said earlier, which I think will help us. And again, correct me if I'm wrong, you said that marketing is more of brand awareness, and public relations is about reputation. Would you care to elaborate on that?
Yes, correct, Cora. Earlier this morning, most of the subject matter experts really were referring to marketing PR, right? So what we do really is corporate PR, meaning we manage, we look after all the publics of the company, not just, which includes the customers. So we do look after, like what I said earlier, minus the glitch in the clicker. So branding really is customer-centric. So meaning the messaging is skewed towards products and services. But when you talk about reputation, it's really company-centric, meaning you look after all the stakeholders of your company, which also includes the customers. So branding, customer-centric. Reputation, company-centric, wherein the customer is part of the company. Right?
Okay, let me also simplify it a bit. This is my understanding. When you say branding and marketing, you equate it with awareness, right? In a sentence, let's say the company or the brand were to become an individual, distill into an individual, brand would come up with the sentence, I am this brand, this is what I stand for, this is what I believe in, these are what my values are. But reputation, which is managed by public relations, is I am credible because I deliver. My message is authentic because I'm true to my word. Iba yun, those two are different. What you are right now, what you say in your brand as an awareness may not necessarily hold true, or what the public thinks may not hold true when a crisis happens. That's why it's public relations. Marketing, tatagalog muna ako for foreign guests, marketing, ipapakilala ka. Ito ako. Ito yung brand ko. Ito yung gusto kong malaman ng public about me so they can buy. Or they can, we can establish this business relationship. Reputation is when something goes wrong, or not necessarily, but because our reputation is what I am known for. What I am known for, how the public perceives me, my relationship with them, and that depends on my credibility. Public relations, my reputation, yung reputasyon mo, it's either positive, because I've been delivering, the pagkakatiwalaan ako, or if something happens, like the airplane, which the airline incident, which Attorney Estrella mentioned earlier, when something happens, I don't manage that, then my reputation can take a dive. So the public may not believe me anymore. Now, reputation, just like Owen said something, we quoted Warren Buffett, that reputation is important. But reputation also builds on something, and that is called trust, which Kate spoke about earlier. Kate, why is trust, forgive me this different question, why is trust important in public relations?
I think trust is important in life, not just in public relations, but it's in personal relationships. It's very important. Siguro we can distill it down to like a relationship with people that we work with. It's very important. But to elevate it on a more business level, we would understand more why it's important, because if you trust someone, then whatever that person says or asks you to do or influences you to believe, then you're more likely to follow or to abide, because it's not just blind following, it's because you trust that person, your beliefs and values are also aligned. So trust is, it's a normal human behavior, and it translates not just on a personal level, but also on a marketing or PR level.
So safe to say, the influencers and a lot of following who are still there, the public patronized in some form or other, are the influencers they trust, right? The trust level is high. Now, on to the second part. Before we go to the questions, when you say influencer, okay, I'd like to place it to go to perspective. A lot of them, correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of them are like our guests. They're bloggers, they're writers, they're content creators, they're journalists. Some of them are celebrities. But again, Owen expanded that into a greater network. And I can align it with what Kate said, that you not just create an individual influencer campaign, but you have to put it overall under one network, which is your business objectives, right? Hindi lang siya kasi it's not like, for example, you have a PR crisis, you just call an influencer and you think everything can be changed or transformed. But again, Owen, in your definition, why is your definition of influencers broken? And why is this important?
Well, okay. First, Cora, thank you for giving me a chance now to clarify what I mispresented earlier. But influencer really is, I guess, it's influencing the influencer, or an influencer really is a shared responsibility, right? Everyone who has a stake in that particular company is considered an influencer. That's really the point. But I'm not saying that an online influencer or a content producer is not an influencer. He or she may be an influencer depending on what the company needs. For example, us in BPI, right? The customers, 8 million of them, whatever they say, whether it's online, whether it's face-to-face, whether it's in broadcast, it matters to BPI. It plays a role in shaping the reputation of BPI. So, meaning, customer really is an influencer for our company. And so on and so forth. The investors also, if they don't buy our stocks, if they sell their shares, patay tayo dyan, di ba? So, it doesn't mean they're not an influencer, right? They don't have blogs, but di ba, they have the influence, they have the network to tear down BPI's reputation as a blue chip stock, right? If all of them sell out their stocks, paano na? The reputation of BPI as a blue chip stock will be destroyed. Yeah, will be diminished. So again, what I wanted to say really, influencer is your key stakeholders. They're almost one and the same most of the time.
Okay, now let's narrow it down to the popular notion of influencers, the content developers, the content creators. Kate, how would you define an influencer? Is it the metrics, the number of hits, the followers? Do you have to reach 10,000 followers, 20,000 likes? I mean, help me out here.
Siguro to Phil, I agree with Owen. I agree with what Owen mentioned, that an influencer largely is a stakeholder. You know, anybody who has the capacity to influence another person. But to narrow down that scope, an online influencer is someone who can do that online. And usually these are content creators. There is no set number, there's no minimum number. You can have like a few hundred followers, but your content is awesome, that you can build your number of followers very quickly, then you influence people to do whatever action, then you are an influencer, you're a content creator. So those are like the micro influencers. We also have macro influencers who are very good at a specific niche. For example, our travel bloggers and travel content creators. And then we have our celebrity influencers who traditionally were called endorsers. But if you engage with them contractually for a shorter period of time, they're called, influencers, because it's not like a year-long endorsement contract. So there's no set number. It's more of how good is the content that you put out there and how much reach you can, how many people you can reach. To be specific, we have on our platform, we have influencers and content creators whose following is at about 1,000 plus. It may not be huge, but if the content that they have is impressive, then some brands may wish to start working with them while they're still small, kasi mura pa sila, or libre pa sila. So, as marketers, as PR professionals, you can start building that relationship already at that micro level, so that when their followers become big, then you're maximizing your tiny investment in them earlier on.
I'd like to go to our guests, to our travel bloggers / influencers. You're both influencers at the same time, as I said earlier. You also provide content for companies. You also supply the client, no? Question, and I'm sure that helps. What's the dynamic there? You write original content on travel, no? Right? And then a brand approaches you because they like what they do. They like what you do, and they contract you to do stuff for hotels, for resorts. I mean, how does it work? How's that dynamic work? This is where you are as content providers, content creators, and then later they tap you as influencers for their particular brand or to handle the public relations.
Hello? Yeah, sometimes we work with brands that we create our own content, and sometimes we give exposure in our social media, and sometimes we create content just for the brand because they want to have pictures for their own campaigns and they don't need the promotion. So there are different ways. For example, with hotels, most of the time you work creating content for them, and later they like to share your content, and they like you share the content you create in the hotel for the social media.
How many years were you as proven content creators or bloggers before the first brand came knocking at your door? I'm just curious.
So first we started with the blog, so we were mostly writing, and when we discovered Instagram, we started with creating content 2 years ago. So we've been improving a lot because you always have something to learn, like also to buy new travel gear, always new editing, you need to learn a lot.
But there was a substantial body of content already before the first brand asked you, I guess. There was already a substantial body of content before you got your first client.
Oh yes, it is.
Yeah, that was what I was driving at, but that's important. Okay, question. In the Philippines especially, how many brands or companies go to influencers to handle their, not just marketing, but public relations? Specifically public relations.
I think it's risky to do that. I believe that your public relations should be done by people who are experts at public relations. So influencers, their expertise would be in content creation. So unless it's a campaign that has a lot to do with content creation, then it's better to let your in-house or outsourced PR team do the PR function.
That's your position.
Yes. So most of the campaigns that most of the influencer campaigns are amplification of content that the PR agency has created, for example, or it's a marketing campaign. So it can be for awareness, for conversion, or for engagement.
All in your experience, even before DPI, because you've been around a lot in corporate communications, business communications, how often do brands or companies tap influencers of on the online kind to do the PR or to help in a PR campaign?
Online, you're talking about online influencers.
Influencers.
I guess it depends on your brand, what you're pushing, right? If you're pushing for a technology product or brand, it makes a lot of sense to tap on online influencers because majority of your clients would highly likely be on the net, right? So that's the perfect channel for you. So, but for example, we here in the back, right? So it's really still a mixed market. So we don't normally tap on online influencers at this point.
Or if I may clarify, so I think the PR strategy should remain in-house or with your PR agency, but the execution of that can be expanded to partners. The influencers may not necessarily know the overall PR strategy, but when you give them a brief, your objective for that specific campaign should be very clear. So I'll give BPI as an example. For example, you have a new mobile app. There's of course this whole business strategy in the release and the launch of the mobile app. You can tap influencers to talk about the new app, how seamless the experience is, how good the UX is. I'm a user, so
Thank you.
so I know. So how good the UX is now. And it's also a form of reputation management because that user experience hasn't always been that good. So just keeping it real. So it's actually a good opportunity to change that story and to own that story, but it's now told by other people and not just the brand.
And the influencer works closely, using an example with BPI. And
Yes, and it should be users.
The concept really of public relations is having somebody else talk about you, something good about you. So I agree with Kate, for our new app. It's not really selling. We're not selling the app. It's actually a value-add service. When you think about it, PSP does not mandate an app for the banks. It's just a freebie. Something that we give out to our clients for free because we want better convenience for them. And it's really a value-add service. So yes, it would add reputation. It can repair some tarnished reputation from the previous app, right? So yes, it's a combination to agree with Kate. Tama. We can tap on online influencers for those sort of projects.
Let's go to the first question from the audience. Okay, this is for Gamintraveler, Ruben and Rachel.
I guess that's not for us.
That's cute. Okay, how did you two meet, and how do you make a living out of being influencers?
So we met through couchsurfing. It's couchsurfing. Couchsurfing.
Couchsurfing.
Yeah, it's a website for travelers. I was traveling and I came to the Philippines. She was hosting me. And yeah, we became influencers. First, we started writing in the blog, and we were building an audience. And later, we started with Instagram, and the brands they were contacting us. And as we were learning at the same time about content creator and about brands, we also did the same. Like they were contacting us. We were using also to build our Instagram agency when we learned about Instagram. So we earn thanks to the Instagram agency, sometimes with campaigns, with brands, writing sponsor posts in the blog, and also creating pictures for a few brands they require.
Okay, next question. This for everyone. Oh, I guess it's for Owen, sorry. For conservative industries such as banking, how do you utilize influencer marketing in your campaigns? And how do you ensure that your brand's voice does not get lost in the personal content of the influencers?
Okay. Two things though. First, yeah, banking is really conservative. If you noticed, Kate mentioned earlier, before these celebrities are called endorsers, right? Now they're called influencers. And if you notice, for the longest time, BPI has not contracted any endorser because that's how conservative we are. So, to answer this question, we don't engage in formal online influencers at this time. We may consider, with Kate here by my side, we may consider for next gen, for the app, but we don't have any existing online influencers.
If I may add, I would understand them being very careful. It's because when you engage an influencer or an endorser, like whatever that person does, diba? Parang you'd have to then manage whatever that person does that damages his or her reputation. You'd also have to manage your corporate reputation as an effect of that. And it's very difficult to be associated with a specific person. And that's where the opportunity of working with quote micro endorsers would come in. It's because they're actually sort of endorsing or recommending the use of your product or service for a shorter period of time. So you're not tied with them for a long-term period.
Next question, please. Okay, this for okay. Do you consider the risk that your celebrities might get involved in a controversy and directly affect your brand? Yeah, I think that's been answered. Next, please. Okay, for Kate. My PR agency also taps influencers directly for us. What is the advantage of tapping GetCRAFT? Now's your chance.
So this is my pitch. No, we actually work with agencies as well. We work with media agencies, PR agencies, creative agencies, direct brands. So we are a platform to make it easier for marketers, for communicators to work with content creators. So, but we also act as an agency if our clients like require a need for some strategic services. I think the advantage of working with a third-party company, like such as ours, is that we can help scale up your influencer marketing activities. If you can tap like 1, 3 influencers, 5 influencers directly, please do so, diba? That's the experiment stage for you to learn what execution works for you. If you can get them for a good deal, if you have existing relationships with them, do leverage on that. But you will get to a point where you already understand your brand and the kind of partnership that you want out of influencers, and you need to scale it up. Now that becomes very difficult to do in-house because you need a separate team to do that, to research on the right content partners. Kasi you'll have to, I guess, to answer the previous question, you have to research which brands this influencer has worked with before. Has this person worked with competitors? Or does this person have a good reputation? So you really need a dedicated team if you want to do a large-scale influencer marketing campaign.
Okay, I'll follow up that question. How do you know, let's say a company approaches you, a brand approaches you, and how would they know which influencer or content creator is aligned with the goal, is good for them? How would you know that they're fit? How do you do that kind of matching? Yeah.
That's our job. So we do a lot of research mano-mano. My team basically scours Instagram, Facebook, and double checks, if this particular person matches the brand. But also, on the website, you can do it yourself. You can filter which categories. For example, if you're a travel brand, then if you filter the categories. There's a travel category there. You'll see the different travel bloggers and travel influencers that you can work with. Same with lifestyle. At least that's a starting point. And from there, you can do your own, I guess, deep dive into each content creator. Okay, let's see what type of content this influencer puts out. And are the rates affordable or within budget? Are the results that they deliver within expectations of the company? So that's, you start with a category and then you can filter it further.
I'll pass that question also to Ruben and Rachel, but from a different angle. How do you choose which brands you work for? I'm sure other companies go to you. Do you accept everyone, or if not, how do you choose?
We usually, the first thing we look is the value. The value we can give our followers with that brand, because you are a storyteller, you are traveling, but being influencer is a work. So you need to do something is going with your beliefs. And after that, you need to see what's the content you can create for that brand. And also if that content is going to be useful for the brand, the campaign.
So are you not just confined to travel-related sectors or brands?
Yes, we've been working with clothing brand and with different. Yeah.
Next question. For Owen, what are the key indicators determine when your company is doing well in reputation management? Yeah, because you talked about that.
Okay, the most fair thing to do really is to get a third party to measure your reputation. In fact, at BPI we had a recent study. We contracted AC Nielsen to track our corporate equity score, and it's very fortunate that we had a very strong score in that study. So AC Nielsen said that amongst all the companies here in the Philippines, we were one of the top, highest ranked in terms of reputation. And what's even better is among the banking, the Philippine banks, we were number one in terms of the score. So the attributes that stood out really is we are integrity and credibility and stable. So STI. So the BPI is perceived as a reputable company because it is stable, it is trustworthy, and it is it has integrity.
And it does help that the third party validates that, right?
Yes. Yes, we have internally mga risk parameters, right? It's a map. Yeah, it's really it measures a lot of risk, but we have our thresholds and all. But the best thing really, if you want to know and you want to validate if your brand or your company is reputable or not, you have somebody else validate it for you.
Internally, how often do you do that?
We do it on a quarterly basis.
Internal
measurement. We do quarterly reports. We measure it quarterly. So, example, we measure how much positive to negative ratio we get from media, from traditional media. We also do that on new media, right? So customer complaints, so and so on and so forth.
Next question. For Gamintraveler again. What has been your favorite experience as a content creator?
We enjoy all of it. My favorite, I think we did an interview in Madrid. It was in Madrid. We were traveling in Europe before this summer, and it was really fun because we learned many things. Because they had better gadgets, like we learned many things, how to take video, how to take pictures, and it was for 2 days straight, like the whole day with them, and we learned a lot. For me, it was the best experience.
You've been to how many countries?
I think maybe 80 countries, around 80 countries.
You've been all over the Philippines. You've been all over the Philippines, you guys.
Not all over the Philippines, but we are still, I think in 1 or 2 years, mostly.
was telling them earlier, they're the type of influencers we love to hate. Diba? Because they get to travel for free, or they get to travel and earn from it. So that's what corporate jobbers like us love to hate. And
We love your
content
job,
creators
we
like
hate
you.
you, we can't do it.
They always say like different landscape, like beach, mountain.
Perks of the job. Okay, I guess it's for everyone. As PR practitioners, or let's say even influencers, we all know that there's a big divide between media and influencers. Media, does that mean traditional media? Question. How do we bridge that gap between them and make them work together for our brand? Again, I'd have to guess that when you say media, this would mean traditional media, as in newspapers, magazine, print, television, and radio. Who wants to answer first, Kate or Owen?
I guess the divide is not between media and influencers, because some brands see influencers as media. The divide would be between organic and paid. So sometimes, often when you say PR, it's your unpaid relationship with the media, and sometimes working with influencers. Sometimes it's also unpaid, but often with content creators, it's sponsored. And publishers do that as well, branded content. I think to bridge that gap is to have a strong brand identity, because that translates to how you communicate your brand, whether it's through your PR channels, through your marketing channels. If you have that core identity, whether it's paid or not, if it's the same, if it comes from the same core, brand core, then there will be less disconnect across channels.
Okay, for me, it's about relationship. Whether you're new media or traditional media, it's really about relationship. And then whether, to Kate's point, whether you choose to go organic or to pay, it's really your choice, right? So those are, at the end of the day, a newspaper, a TV, a radio, an online blog, a social media post. Those are all channels, right? So content and relationship really falls to the brand, your brand or the company, whatever they choose to go online, and I choose, say, you guys, to share our story. It doesn't matter if there's a so-called divide, because from my perspective, it's my media mix, right? So I don't see through that. After, what matters is what we need as a company, as a brand. So that's my thing.
Next question. For Kate. Does GetCRAFT accept competing companies? If yes, how do you manage them?
So does Facebook accept competing companies? Yes, because they're a platform. Same goes with us, because we're a content platform. We do work with competing companies because if it's essentially like, it's a platform, it's a marketplace where brands and content creators meet. If in the case of, for example, a McDonald's or a Jollibee, we get briefs from both companies at the same time, we help assist by, let's say, choosing different sets of influencers. That case hasn't happened to us, by the way, but we'll help by segregate. And then we also have separate teams that will work on those campaigns.
I guess it would be safe
And
to
the
say,
police.
it would be safe to say like something like a Chinese wall, right? Your teams
Yes.
don't talk to each other.
Yes, yes.
Next question. Owen, does BPI implement an internal communications plan? Does your team utilize personalities in your organization as channels for this plan? I think you answered it earlier, but you might want to expound.
Okay, to answer the first question, yes, we do have internal communication plans in place, and In fact, I meant to say this earlier. I meant to mention it earlier. Because it's Mitch showed a photo of her team, you know. So I failed to show a photo of my team over at BPI, which was formed this year lang. But the good news is, majority of them are here. So can you please stand up, team.
Please stand
Ayun,
up.
ano, ano.
BPI team. Wow, let's give them a hand.
So that's my team over there, and they help develop our internal comps for the BPI group. And for personalities, wala pa. We don't really go for personalities, but yung mga micro online influencers would be a good option.
And down, I think we're down to our last question. I'd like to ask everyone to answer this, okay? If you were writing a proposal and are about to put a company's marketing budget or investment, what percentage of the investment will you write down for PR, social media, and influencer marketing? Who wants to go first?
Hirap nito Impromptu media planning. How much budget do you have? I'd always go back to your business objectives. I often get the question, how much does it cost to work with this, to do with that? I respond with a question, what's your business objective? It's impossible to do an impromptu media planning. Like, what's the slice of the pie that works? Kulang pa to Like, what's your advertising slice of the pie? What's your PR? What is social media? Is social media PR or advertising? What is influencer marketing? How different is that from social media? So it's impossible to answer this question without seeing a proper brief. Like I said, you need to brief the partners that you work with very clearly so that they can also help you.
Do you want to answer or should I go and answer?
Yes. Like as influencers, when a company is reaching out to us, it's usually they have their own budget, and in the agency, like we are handling small companies, we are usually looking for influencers with limited budgets. So we are looking more for people who can create more content and give exposure. And they mentioned before is micro influencer. Later they can become bigger, and the exposure is gonna be really good.
Owen, I guess you can cap us off.
Again, it's about what you want to achieve, right? So you plan out something, and you always have to think, what's the end? Plan with the end in mind, and I guess the budget would really depend on what company you're in. So typically, company would probably allocate 5% of the total revenue to marketing and communications. So we'd have to split that with the advertising folks, with the marketing folks. So safe to say 2.5 of your company revenue would be your budget for the year. So, but on a campaign basis, it depends on what you want to achieve, right? So
There's also a study or research that on average in the Philippines, companies allocate about 30% of their total marketing budget to digital. Okay, so you can start with out of the 30%, how much will you allocate to digital advertising, digital PR, and content creation?
And that's the last question for the day, for the panel. Let's give our panelists one more applause.
Thank you to